Welcome back, folks. Welcome to another edition of Patriot Network TV, and it is our honor, privilege, and pleasure to have on the phone from Washington, D.C. with us today, Dr. Paul Gosar. Paul, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, Terry. How's everything back in Prescott?
Well, it'd be a lot better if we could get a federal government that understood that they are composed of limited powers, but as long as we've got good, honest representatives like you back there trying to restrain the rest of the federal mechanism, we'll be okay. Tell us what you're up to these days. Tell us about legislative action. Tell us what it looks like from the inside of the meat grinder back there.
Well, the biggest thing that we want to do, Terry, is we're trying to get this government on track because of the biggest debt aspect. And so what we want to try to do is get onto a budget. The second course of action has been this all-out assault on our Second Amendment rights, particularly by this administration and by the Democratic side, the liberal aspects of our country. And, they don't, they don't allow a crisis to go to waste. And that's what they're certainly doing right now.
Well, that's, you're quoting Rahm Emanuel, the former chief of staff for President Obama, and at every instance when some horrible thing would happen, Rahm Emanuel would get that sick smile on his face and say, you never want to let a crisis go to waste. In other words, politicize every human crisis for political advantage for your side of the argument. And it's sad to see I thought it was absolutely disgusting to see the president surrounded by children, using those children as props to take away gun rights from citizens who are law-abiding, rule-paying, tax-paying individuals who haven't done anything wrong. When the answer to this problem, if you look at these last three shootings, if you look at Gabby Giffords, if you look at Aurora, Colorado, if you look at Newtown, the answer has to do with mental illness and involuntary commitment of the mentally ill. It doesn't have anything to do with legal gun owners.
Well, where we've seen conceal and carry, Terry, we've seen a drop in violent crime. And, you bring up a huge point, is that we always bring up, or at least the other side brings up mental health, but they're few and far between in putting the resources that is dictated for this. You're exactly right. My understanding is the last 4 mass shootings, the shooter had the diagnosis of schizophrenia. And obviously these are people that need help. They should not be in possession of a gun. But there's also so many tragedies here, Terry, in regards to what's happening. I mean, I look at this kid that created the Newtown massacre. Here's a mom, here's a kid from a broken home, a single mom with a special needs kid whose problems get worse and worse and worse, and she's trying to institutionalize him, and he goes nuts. And I hate to say it in that aspect, but he breaks.
Well, I think
go common sense wise in addressing.
Well, I think there's no way other than practical language to address a lot of this.
Yeah, that the names and the changing attitudes, are very, very poignant, Terry. And I think that what's so important also is that what depth this administration and their friends will go to no ends to restrict our Second Amendment. Yesterday it was released that Rahm Emanuel was approaching the bankers, in Chicago, prominent bankers in the United States, saying, do not do business with, the gun manufacturing companies, which is sad. I mean, and an oversight, when you look at oversight, it's actually putting on an aspect of free enterprise.
Well, and they've gone another step further. They're encouraging in the back room. You don't see this on the front page of the paper, but CalPERS, the largest pension fund, the California Pension Fund, there are stories circulating, and I don't have firm sources on this, but I have friends who teach in California who've told me that there's a movement to make CalPERS divest itself of every stock of every company that sells ammunition or firearms, and that they're going to go after. If you're Cabela's, if you're, whatever company, and you have firearms as part of your stock and trade, they're going to dump your stock. And that's going to depress your stock price. And, the pension funds in America, the 401ks, the 403bs, all of those pension funds are massive political tools that you can punish, quote unquote, your enemies with. And if Rahm Emanuel is leading the charge in Chicago to do that, and you know, there's a footnote there that I think is so ironic. Chicago, the murder capital of America, has the strictest gun control. Chicago and DC, which come in 1-2 on gun deaths every year, they've got the strictest gun control. They don't seem to be getting the message. Gun ownership, higher rates of gun ownership correlate with lower amounts of crime, and that people got to get straight with that. The guns aren't causing the crime, criminals cause the crime.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, when good people have no way of defending themselves, criminals always have a means to extrapolate and to hold them hostage over that. So, you know, I applaud, you know, all the different factions that are coming together. My also concern that I also want to highlight, Terry, is, you know, this president and this administration have been very keen in showing you what they want you to look at, and then doing something else behind the scenes. You know, you see the hearing today on Capitol Hill in regards to the Senate on gun hearing, and you also see the outlines of the presidential executive orders by the president. But there's also, we know there's other things happening, and we're just highlighting those with Rahm Emanuel and others. So the first thing we have to do, be very, very careful, is what we will be doing with this administration with the UN. It's constantly been a probe in which to see our constitutional rights to the United Nations, and that's something that we cannot absolutely stand for.
And there's a part and parcel of that. I saw a story yesterday that said the Department of Homeland Security had ordered 1 billion rounds, that's billion with a B, 1,000 million rounds of 5.56 millimeter ammunition. And that's more than all the branches of the service used in a full year in theater in Iraq and Afghanistan. Why does the Department of Homeland Security need 1 billion rounds of 5.56 ammunition, which, by the way, that purchase has made it virtually impossible in the private marketplace to buy 5.56 ammunition? I happen to have 2 weapons that shoot 5.56. I've got 2 back orders with Cabela's for 420 round cases. And I just got an email from Cabela's today saying the earliest they can fill it is February 28th. Why does the DHS need 1 billion rounds? And I think that next time that the budget comes up, next time that the budget for DHS comes up, I think we need to look at why they're buying 1 billion rounds of ammunition in a single calendar year. Oh,
absolutely. That comes under the scrutiny, and that's one of the things that happens when you have true transparency in doing a full budget, is allowing full disclosure on what things are being utilized for. And that's why the opposition on the other side of the aisle has not passed the budget, because there's only subheadings of finances and numbers, and they can shuffle that around willy-nilly how they would like to do, and does not give the true oversight of Congress on that, on where the money is spent and what it is not spent on, Terry.
Well, we've got this.
The ammunition problem is also far exceeding 5.56. It's 22s. It's everything. People in Arizona cannot find ammunition.
Absolutely. Paul, we're up against our first 10 minutes here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and do part 2, okay?
Thanks, Terry.
All righty. God bless you. God bless the United States, folks. We'll be right back with part 2 of this interview.